Hello and welcome to the Eastern Kentucky University Aviation Program's virtual briefing. I'm Jacinda Birdie, and I'm the College Enrollment Counselor for EKU's College of Justice, Safety, and Military Science, where our aviation program is housed. I work directly with students like you who are interested in our aviation program, along with students who are interested in other degrees in the college. So I will be your contact person for any questions you have about the program. Each semester, we host several in-person aviation briefings. These are our most inclusive visits for the program, and they include an information session and Q&A with faculty, getting to see our VR lab, and visiting the airport. The in-person visits are very limited in space, though, so they tend to fill up pretty quickly. Because of that, we also host a virtual briefing each semester. This is a recorded virtual briefing and includes all of the information presented at our in-person events, minus the visits to our facilities, of course. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Professor Houston Glass, who is going to tell you about the program.
All right, let me share my PowerPoint with you. Okay, hello everyone. Like Jacinda said, my name is Houston Glass. I'm one of the professors here at Eastern Kentucky University, and I also teach flight education out at the airport. All right, we're going to be talking about the aviation industry outlook, our program history and overview, flight operations and requirements, flight fees. We're going to talk about Central Kentucky Regional Airport, where we base our flight operations out of. And we have some very exciting news about that. Okay. We're going to talk about our aircraft and simulators, scholarships, co-ops and internships, student organizations, and our flight deck at our house. So industry outlook, I don't think there's a surprise to anybody that there's a great outlook for aviation on currently going on and through at least 2030. Okay, they're talking about a 13% pilot growth, 14,000 pilots needed yearly, apologize, and 19% aviation management and support positions are projected to grow through 2030. So amazing opportunities. All right, our program, a little bit of history. We started our program in 1983. The program was first started as a associate's degree. We started our four-year degree program in 1991, and we were one of among the first schools in the U.S. to award a 1,000-hour restricted ATP certificate. All right, let me take a minute to talk about the restricted ATP certificate. It's called the Airline Transport Pilot Certificate. That is what the airlines require you to have to work for them. Okay, normally, if you go to your local flight school, you get all your certifications and start building your hours, you will need 1,500 hours. But since we are a partner with the FAA and we have a letter of agreement, we can offer the restricted airline transport pilot certificate at 1,000 hours, which is 500 hours less than the minimum requirement outside of the university. We are Kentucky's only four-year aviation residency program. All right, we're going to talk about our four concentrations: aerospace management, professional flight, unmanned aircraft systems, and aerospace technology. We currently have 503 students enrolled in all of our programs. Aerospace management. All right, for every one pilot that's needed out there, there's 30 or 40 support personnel that are required. There are countless career options with aerospace management to include airport and airline operations, corporate and business aviation, aviation planning and consulting, and government regulations. We've had several of our students are out there working, selling airplanes. We have one young lady who was selling airplanes, built her hours up, and now she's working for Atlas Air flying 747s. We're very proud of her. Okay. A lot of our students also add the aerospace management concentration to their professional flight concentration. It's only 6 extra classes And it just gives them a broader view and a broader education in the aviation community. All right, unmanned aircraft systems. It's new for 2022, right? There are tons of jobs and opportunities out there in this career field, and it is growing every day, such as real estate, surveying, surveying. What used to take days to survey a construction site now can be done in 30, 40 minutes. Law enforcement and rescue operations, surveillance, and agriculture. Let's talk about professional flight. All right. So we're talking about training pilots to be professionals flying with the airlines, corporate aviation departments, and many more opportunities out there. This concentration, by the time you complete our program, you will have about 250 hours of flight time. If you remember, our restricted ATP it requires 1,000 hours, and you graduate with 250. So the question is, how do you get from 250 hours to 1,000 hours for the restricted ATP? Well, you do that. We teach you to be a certified flight instructor. Whatever the education degree out there has, CFIs, they're juniors or seniors in our program. They're teaching freshmen how to fly. Okay. You can also save money and time by transferring in your private pilot certificate if you're currently undergoing training at your local airport. If you have your private pilot's license, we'll give you 6 credit hours, 4 for the ground portion and 2 for the flight time. And that will put you almost a year ahead of everybody, just so you know. All right, so now for some exciting news. All right. We received a $25 million appropriation in 2024 to build a new flight education center at Central Kentucky Regional Airport. We broke ground in January 2026, and we hope to be operational in June of 2027. This is going to really broaden our program out at the airport. It's going to include maintenance and aircraft hangars, expanded aircraft aprons, new flight simulators, and a new flight education center that is going to have 26,260 square feet to include dispatch, briefing rooms, classrooms, simulators, and office space. All right. Flight operations. We have our own on-site maintenance out at the airport. Okay. There's a lot of maintenance required for flight education. You have to have 50-hour inspections and oil changes, 100-hour inspections and oil changes, and an annual inspection, which takes several days on each aircraft every year. We do our flight scheduling out there, and we're very excited to have our new building start being built. This is a proposed new airport layout. Okay, where we are currently is almost in the center of this diagram, just to the east, right? So where we're going to be building the new flight education center is over north of where our current training happens. Okay, it's going to include the flight education center and several hangars that will be used for maintenance and also hangaring for our aircraft to be able to store them in inclement weather. So how do you get into a program? Well, first of all, you apply to EKU, get accepted, identify the degree program as a Bachelor of Science degree in aviation, and provide proof of citizenship. You have to provide a passport, original birth certificate, and a photo ID. And this is all required by the TSA. All right, insurance. Insurance is required to fly in our program. All right, the insurance is only $165 a month or a year. Sorry about that. $165 a year, and that covers the deductible portion of the insurance. Now let's talk about medical requirements. There are basically three classes of medical. Okay, first, second, and third. First is the highest, and it's required by airline transport pilots. Second is people out there doing stuff like corporate flying. And third class is your regular general aviation flying. We highly encourage that the first medical that you get is a first class medical. Let's make sure that you meet all those requirements to be an airline transport pilot before you start training and spend that money. Okay, drug and alcohol policy. No on drugs. Everywhere in aviation, there is drug screening on a regular basis. Okay, alcohol policy is strictly regulated. 8 hours, what we say from bottle to throttle. So, if you come in and you're inebriated in our program, you will be released from the program. And as stated earlier, you can transfer in your private pilot certificate. Okay, let's talk about flight fees. That's what everybody is interested in. Our flight fees are about 24% less expensive than competing programs in the region, right? So the way it works, if you look at the bottom there, flight fee total is $70,930. Okay. And this is an average of what it takes the average student to get through our program. Okay, you do not need to pay that $70,930 up front. It's paid per flight lap. Okay. Per flight lap. Okay, for AVN 161, private pilot ground, let's go through this one. The $375 includes a flight bag and a bunch of books that's required and to you to study and get your private pilot ground written test examination completed. Then you have AVN 161A. That is our associated private pilot single engine land flight lab. That's when you first start flying, and that goes all the way through whenever you have your first solo. So the way it works is before you start flying, $5,100 is deposited into your flight training account. Okay. And every time you go out and fly, that flight and the instructor time is deducted from that $5,100. Right. So whenever you get through the single engine land flight one curriculum, you will have a stage check by a stage check instructor. If you pass that stage check, we will enroll you into AVM 162A, your single engine land flight 2 flight lab. Right. And at that time, $6,225 will need to be deposited into your account. Okay, in the same way, so whenever you enroll an instrument pilot ground, it's the same process all the way through. Right, we have a competitive advantage. $70,000 roughly is what the average student is charged. OSU averages 95K, MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, 83K, and Auburn, 105K. So we are very competitive in that program. Now, one thing I want to add, there are some costs that aren't associated with these flight fees. First of all, the flight fees are separate. And in addition to the normal education, college, enrollment, housing, dining facility fees, et cetera, et cetera. It is in addition to. And also at the end of your private pilot, your instrument, and all the rest of those ratings, a FAA designated pilot examiner who is a contractor for the FAA, basically works for them, will have to give you an oral exam and a flight to test whether you meet all the FAA requirements for the private pilot instrument rating, commercial, etc. Okay, those fees are in addition to the normal flight fees. Normally, the DPEs for private pilot charge around $800. This is Central Kentucky Airport, and this is a picture of our current hangar and also our education center, operations center, and maintenance hangar out there at the airport. Now, as you're looking at this picture, our new facility is going to be built on the far side. All that green open space out there, that will be the new tarmac, the new maintenance hangars, the new flight education center, and parking. Our aircraft fleet, we have 27 aircraft. 3 of them for our multi-engine training are Piper Seminoles, and the rest of them are Cessna 172s. Right? Most of them are steam gauge. We do have 2 glass cockpit Cessna 172s that we use for our commercial requirements. Our current flight simulator assets, we have our PFC DCX Pro Motion. We have 4 basic aviation training devices, 2 at the airport, 2 in a lab here in the Stratton building. We have a VR flight simulator lab. Okay, we want to make sure that the first time that you are in an aircraft isn't the first time you see this material. So we have the VR flight simulator lab, which is free, by the way, and it's lab that's open about 8 hours a day. The in between classes, after classes, etc. You can visit and you can start learning. Okay, we want you to be able to read how to do something in the airplane. We want you to practice it in the flight simulator lab before you get into the aircraft. So it's not brand new material. This saves money and time. As stated before, it's open to everyone and no cost to the students we use for the VR lab. Scholarships. We have a wide variety of scholarships available from a bunch of those following sources, such as EKU for tuition, housing. EKU aviation scholarships are for current students only, the ones that are in our aviation program. There are industry partners and organizations that offer scholarships. ALPA, National Business Aviation Association, Experimental Aircraft Association, and multiple ones out there. You can also get loans for flight training. Co-ops and internships. All right. Our students and our employees basically run the Central Kentucky Regional Airport. The airport manager is an employee of EKU. All of the people that refuel the airplanes and move the airplanes out at the airport can not only include our aircraft, but also business jets and other aircraft that come into our airport are EKU students, okay, who are working for the fixed base operator and getting that experience and getting that time and getting paid for it. We also have a partnership with Bluegrass Airport that has hired several of our employees, and also Louisville Regional Airport, Airmart Aircraft Sales, Cincinnati Regional Airport, et cetera, et cetera. We have graduates of our program working in just about every major airport there is out there. And also flying with, airlines such as Delta, American. We have partnerships with Republic Airlines and Allegiant Airlines. They're partners in our program and offer a cadet program. We have several student organizations that are highly active. In fact, they just had their formal dance this past weekend on Friday night. That was Alpha Eta Rho, which is a national or international aviation fraternity, professional fraternity. AAAE, American Association of Airport Executives. And Women in Aviation is open to not only women, but also men also, and they do a wonderful program. They have trips to different airlines, Cirrus, et cetera, et cetera. So they really get involved. All right, flight deck. This is a picture of where our flight deck is, and it's in Keene Hall on the same side of the campus as our Stratton building, which contains most of our aviation classes. Right, programming throughout the year, exclusively for residents. All right, we operate all year long. The best way to get through our program is to fly all 4 years, right? And that includes summertime and includes wintertime. And we have residency available for those summer times. Especially in the summertime here in Kentucky, you can get a lot of flying accomplished. That concludes our presentation. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're always available. I'll turn it over to you, Jacinda.
All right. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions in the future, or if you'd like to schedule a time to visit in person or need anything at all, just please let me know. I'd be happy to send you that information. And I basically will just be your contact person for whatever it is that you need. You can reach me via email at jacinda.bertie@eku.edu or at 859-622-6520. Thank you all so much.